Greetings, students. My name is Robert Sean Kennedy. I'll be your instructor for History 1301 in this competency-based course. So let's get started. First things first, here's my contact information. Here is the main contact information. Remind. This is basically a social media site dedicated to this course. So only people in this course will be signed up for the course that is associated with this link here. So the instructions are right here. It's an app that you can put on your smartphone. You don't have to have a smartphone. There's instructions here if you don't have a smartphone. And you can access this from a tablet or a desktop as well. But this is how we will communicate using the Remind app. It's a very useful way, much more effective than the Blackboard message tool. From my experience using that, students don't get those messages on a regular basis. And sometimes it takes students a few days to check in with those messages. Please initiate any correspondence through here. We are welcome to talk on the phone, but I discourage initiating a correspondence through telephone. And the reason for that is I guarantee you our schedules are going to be widely different. And so what ends up happening is we play phone tag for a couple of days, and it was something that you could have got a quick message back within an hour or less, and you would have been on your way. But since we were playing phone tag, it took you 2 days to find out where the competency post test was located, or whatever the case may be. So please, please, please contact me here. And then if we do need to talk on the phone, absolutely. Let's talk on the phone, or you can come visit me at my office. All right. First thing you'll need to do is you'll want to make sure that you have downloaded the Lockdown browser. If you're not familiar with what the Lockdown browser is, there are videos for that, and they are located right here. It's also located in the syllabus, and in each exam I have this video. It's about a 3-minute video. It'll get you up to speed. But basically what Lockdown browser is, it is a browser that only allows you to open up one window at a time. So when you go to take any exam, the orientation exam, the pre-test, the post-test, you must open up Lockdown browser through you must open up Blackboard through the Lockdown browser. So if you try to open it up in Internet Explorer, Mozilla, Chrome, Safari, what you'll get is a window asking you for a password to take the exam. There are no passwords for the exam. The password is opening up Blackboard through the Lockdown browser. So please download that as quickly as possible. You'll also need a webcam to take any exam in this course, so make sure you understand that. If you don't have one, they are very accessible to get on Amazon. You can get them as low as $5 these days, and a good quality one that will work just fine for these purposes. Okay, let's see. Going back to start here. I'm going to open up the syllabus for this course. Going through this, a lot of this is just kind of bureaucratic stuff that you're welcome to read through. It's kind of interesting. Here are the 4 competencies that you need to demonstrate, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So if this is your first time in a competency-based course, or one of your second or thirds, and you're still not familiar with competency-based courses, they are a challenge. They are a challenge. It's even more independent work than normally in an internet course. So do keep that in mind, and do keep this in mind, that there are only 3 grades. There is an A, there's a B grade to earn, and then there is an F. So basically anything below 79% is an F. In a normal class, that would be a C, and then anything below a 69% would be a D, and anything below a 59% would be a failing grade. But in this class, yeah, the bar is pretty high because it's a competency-based course. Basically, if you are enrolled in this course, you are claiming that you have some sort of competency in the subject matter, that being U.S. history, the first part of it. And so, since you are making that claim, the bar is very high as far as passing is concerned. And then also note, too, what's different is you must pass every single competency, even to be considered for passing. So if you get solid A's on competencies 1 through 3 and get a 79% on competency 4, you will not pass this course, right? But do keep in mind that the average of your competencies will basically constitute what this grade is, your final grade. But yeah, you must pass all of them. There's 4 grades that you are graded on. The post-tests for each competencies, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 25% apiece. 25 times 4 is 100%. So keep that in mind. This right here, that's from last semester, so I'm just going to get rid of that. I'll show it to you in Blackboard, actually. Pre-tests. I'll talk about all of this when we look at Blackboard. Pre-tests and post-tests. Yeah, so let's go over back to Blackboard. So yes, I do have a suggested schedule. There is one hard due date in this class. It is for the competency pretest and the orientation exam. You must pass the orientation exam with a 100% or higher. Use the questions that were provided to you as you're going through. If you haven't, push pause, rewind, whatever you need to do, and start taking notes using those questions. Those questions that are provided to you, those questions are the test bank. So if you take notes on that, and you could use all the notes you want for the orientation exam. Use your notes. If you take careful notes, you probably only have to take the orientation exam once. With that said, you can take the orientation exam as much as you need to earn 100%, as long as you get it done by October 26. You must have the Comp 1 pretest also done by October 26. Any student who chooses not to will be withdrawn from the course. So this is just a way for you to let me know that, hey, I am engaged in this class and I'm ready to do the work. The rest of these dates here, these are suggested. This is a suggested schedule. I highly recommend you sticking to it, but it is a competency-based course, and so the schedule is pretty much open. But one of the things I want to bring your attention to are incompletes. First and foremost, most likely you will, if you ask for an incomplete, you won't get it. There are, however, I understand, extraordinary reasons where an incomplete can be issued. But do keep that in mind. Only under extraordinary reasons, right? And this would mean you pending terminal disease, somebody unexpectedly died in your family, has to be documented. You got in a serious car accident. I mean serious car accident, not a fender bender, right? But the first thing I will do, though, no matter what reason you're giving me, is I will look to see how closely aligned you were to the suggested schedule. On occasion, not all, but on occasion, some students choose to begin taking the post-tests and the pre-tests towards the end of the session in late November, early December, or even as late as the last week of class. Those students who are requesting, no matter what the reason they're giving, an incomplete definitely will not be given an incomplete. So don't take anything to chance. If at all possible, stick to the schedule that's posted here, and if possible, you can work ahead. So everything's open to take right now, so please do. Let's see. All right, going to the, let's go to, I'm going to get out of the preview here, taking out a student view, and I'm going to go here because everything is an adaptive release, meaning you have to take the orientation exam for, or at least the pretest for other things to open up. So let me actually show you what you will see real quick. When you come into the competencies, this is basically all you will see right here, and you won't be able to take the post-tests until you take the pre-tests. So let's get out of this. Oops, boom. And then you'll be able to see, once you've taken the pretests, what everything will kind of look like. All right, so you will have the available chapters and or lectures available to you. The post-test is down here. The pre-test is up here. Let me open up the pre-test. To take the pre-test, again, you must have Lockdown Browser and use a webcam to activate it. So do keep that in mind at all times. And you may not use notes during the pre-test. So do not use notes. And let me say a word about that. If you do use notes, that will be considered cheating. This is a competency-based course. You're taking the pre-test. You are claiming you have competency. A lot of students feel real bad about pre-tests because the truth is that very few people are competent in U.S. history. To be competent in U.S. history, you would at least need a bachelor's degree in U.S. history and have been a fairly serious student of history. It's possible to be competent in U.S. history without a degree. You might be an avid self-learner, read quite a bit, write about history on your own, be in some sort of community organization regarding history. But yeah, very few people fall into that category. So don't feel bad if you don't pass the pretest. Very few students do, simply the fact that they are not competent in U.S. history because they are typically like most people. So my suggestion is just kind of blow through the pretest and just immediately begin preparing for the post-test. Yeah, it's the way it is. The competency-based classes are nice because they're very convenient. They are short. You just take a couple of classes. They're a little bit less money than other classes, but it is kind of a misnomer for students to enroll claiming competence in subject matters like history where most people are not competent in them. Okay, so going to the post. So once you do take the pretest, the assigned material that's going to be listed up here will appear down here, right? So from here you'll have an assignment or preparation, basically. There's no assignments in this class, but if you click here, it's basically you go through here and have some directions in there. You read that document and you prepare for it. I suggest watching this video, reading through here to understand the difference between a primary and secondary source. And then for most readings and assigned material, there's basically two forms of it. There are chapters and lectures. This competency is pretty short. It only has one chapter and one lecture. Most competencies are going to have up to 2 lectures and maybe 1 to 2 chapters, but no more than that. So do keep that in mind. There will be no more than 2 lectures and no more than 2 chapters per competency. All right, so all the chapters work this way. You open it on up, and boom, there you go. You have a list of questions on the top and then the text down below. If you click here, you can get a summary of the chapter, but you will need to read through here. The summary is nice to begin with. Let me give you some suggestions on how to study for the chapters. Most students ignore this advice, but those that don't actually usually ace this course. It does take a little bit of time, but the time will be well spent. What I would suggest is getting a notebook dedicated to this course, and then when you begin a chapter, physically handwrite these questions. You might take a half a page per question. Depending on how you write, it could be a full page. But handwrite the questions down. In doing so, what will happen is you will at least initiate the process of becoming aware of what is ahead. If you simply just copy and paste this and put into a Word document these questions and then type your notes, you're not going to be really aware of it. But if you're physically using your hand, there's a much stronger connection to your mind in doing so. Once you physically write these questions down, then read the chapter. Some students try to take the quick route and they fish through here. They do a control find and find anything that says Arawak in here, And the responses are very easy to see when between a student who fishes and a student who actually reads. So what I suggest doing is reading, and then as you come across information, whether it's a date, an event, whatever it is, associated, for example, with this gentleman here, Bartolomé de las Casas, you might want to jot that down underneath this question here, right? And so part of knowing his significance, you want to explain who this person is. And you do that for each of these questions. When you are done reading and taking notes on each of these questions, I suggest getting a stack of note cards to make flashcards with, and then kind of drill yourself as you go. So this is a several-step process. Basically 3 steps. Handwrite the questions down, read, take notes. Second step. Third notes, make flashcards. So 3 steps in doing so. Okay, so that's for the chapters. There are also lectures. Each lecture comes associated with an essay prompt. When you take the post-test, this is the essay prompt that's going to appear. Basically, it's expecting you to write a 5 to 8 paragraph essay. That's a guideline. Don't worry too much about the length. Some students get very anxious about the length. As long as you respond thoroughly. And what does that mean? Well, you'll notice here, and it says it on each of the lectures, your response should include all of the learning objectives that comprise the lecture associated with the following essay prompt. What are the learning objectives? They are these things. This is basically the content. So when you open this up, here is learning objective 1. If you notice, this is basically a little bit more detailed of a prompt than the lecture here. So discuss the interrelationship between a successful cash crop, cheap labor, and cheap land. Well, to really respond to that first part of the essay, you need to understand the background of where that comes from. And so that's what this is providing, this particular learning objective. Most learning objectives are going to come both with a video and a text with supplementary material like other videos as well. So, and you'll also notice that each lecture is going to come with a study guide. Use the study guides. Click there. And you'll see that the learning objective prompt is there for learning objective 1, and the questions below learning objective 1 are the questions associated with that learning objective prompt. All of this material can be found in the link that is associated with learning objective 1, either within the video or the text. The video is complementary to the text is complementary to the video. They are not identical, although they share quite a bit of the same topics, concepts, and subject matter overall. But if you have a response to each of these questions, that will give you sufficient amount of information to respond to this particular learning objective prompt. Right, so when you are, one of the things that students do that struggle writing essays is they give very general responses without any examples or explanation of what things are. That's what these questions are intended to help you with. They give you very specific references, details, and examples, so your essay is as rich and complete as possible. So utilize this resource to the best of your ability. Going back to it. So all of the learning objectives work the same way too. So again, they usually come with video, and they'll definitely always come with text. And again, to help you respond to this particular learning objective prompt, use the study guide. Right? This is the learning objective prompt, and here are the questions that will help you respond to that prompt. When you are done responding to each learning objective, and each learning objective, take note of this, will provide you with 1 to 3 paragraphs per learning objective. Paragraph is roughly 4 to 6 sentences. Again, that's a general guideline. 1 to 3 paragraphs. The combined response to each of these learning objectives is the response to this essay prompt. So no matter what this essay prompt says, to make sure it's complete, make sure that any learning objective for the lecture, and all of the lectures work this way, is responded to. You combine those responses, and then that is your response to the essay prompt. So the specific learning objectives will not show up during the post-test. So you want to make sure that you have a good handle on that. What I suggest doing to prepare for this is to take notes as you're going through the learning objectives in your notebook, and then to practice writing the essay a couple of times. You weren't born to understand U.S. history and to be competent in it. So if that's your goal, and that is your goal, enrolled in this course, you need to practice the skills of higher learning when it comes to preparing for these essays. So when you take the post-test, note you can use notes, but they must be handwritten, and it has to be on a 4x6 note card. You can use one per competency post-test. Right? So only one note card per competency-based note card. Any deviation from that, again, the cheating policy will kick in and you'll earn a failing grade. Don't mean to harp on that, but there are quite a few students that have cheated. None of you, of course, are going to cheat because you are diligent hard workers, but just want to make sure, just in case that temptation was out there for anybody. Okay, I think that's about it. So take the exam. If you have any questions, you get me on Remind. We can go from there. But yeah, take the orientation exam and immediately take the pretest. It's due October 26th, but don't wait. Just take it now, and you will be you'll be fine. So it's a fast-paced course. It's manageable, but it's something you really do want to create a schedule for yourself. It's always highly recommended to have a couple, maybe 2-3 days, 2 to 3 hours at a time. So let's say you are free, you know for sure, Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 8 to 11. Make that your schedule as if you were going to class. A lot of students get tripped up by online classes because of the convenience, and it's very easy to say, oh, I'll do this tomorrow. And you keep saying that, and you keep saying that enough times, and all of a sudden it's the end of the session. So students that have a dedicated schedule to their online courses typically are the students that succeed in them. All right, that's enough. Please let me know if you have any questions. Go forth and be great. I'm very, very excited to be your instructor. Do let me know if you have any questions. Take care. Bye-bye.